Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to this webinar on Aleyant tFLOW. We'll have a bit of an overview of tFLOW today and see at some of the possibilities on how it can be integrated in your workflow. I'll get going with a couple of slides to start off with, and then try to dive into the product as much as possible. What is tFLOW? Just to set the scene a little bit, tFLOW is a powerful digital and large format automation workflow. The goal is to simplify difficult file management tasks and processes, optimize efficiency and production throughput, and integrate that in your existing environment through an open architecture with an MIS system, a web-to-print system, an ERP system, or any output systems, whether those are RIPs or downstream production automation workflows that you have. Once again, that will be one of the things that we will be looking at today, more specifically on how to integrate it with the web-to-print system, but I'll also show you some of the hooks on how this can be integrated with other systems. What we see today in various parts of the broad graphic arts production workflows is that a lot is still done manually, and we see that when I said in all aspects, obviously the traditional offset market, commercial print market is to a certain extent already mature, but whether you look at large format printing, or whether you look at label printing or some of the other production environments that we see out there, we see that there's still a lot of manual tasks that are being performed. Getting a briefing, uploading artwork, doing the pre-flight, or getting file information. You could look at pre-flighting as, is this file okay? Can I produce it? But very often, the question is also, what is this file that I'm getting? Are there any spot colors in there? What do I need to do with this? And those things tend to be still manual tasks. If you look at proof creation, that is a big issue today. Very often people need to get file in and then place it somehow in a proof template, add information on top of that with regards to, for instance, how many spot colors are in the file, who is the responsible sales rep, and things like that. We see that a lot of that is done by actual operators using either InDesign or Illustrator to do that. Then getting feedback on a job once something has been put in that proof template. Is it okay for the customer? Do we need to make any modifications? Getting a final approval. And then really wondering where my job is at. What's the status of these different jobs that I've got pending that are out there with customers? How do I keep that overview? Obviously, we then need to prepare jobs for print, potentially separating the print file from a die-cut file, for instance, and then sending it off to production. So while people in some environments have some of these elements automated, we still see that in companies big and small, a lot of that is still being done manually. The goal of tFLOW is really to automate as much as possible of that, at the same time taking a gradual approach in the sense that tFLOW does quite a lot of things, and what you see in orange here is basically what tFLOW covers. So it will handle the project management, handling orders and jobs. It will pre-flight files. It will handle online collaboration. It will manage the assets, for instance, the images and other elements of a job. It will allow you to automatically generate the proof, do the color management, do some fixing on it, and send that off to production. All of that is handled automatically, and within tFLOW, you can use tFLOW as a system where your operators will input some of the data, such as job information, order information, and things like that. But as mentioned in the intro, it can also be easily connected either to other Aleyant products, whether that is the B2C or B2B storefront called Pressero, or the MIS system called Print Job Manager. But it shouldn't necessarily be Aleyant products. If you already have an MIS system, you could easily connect tFLOW to your existing MIS system. Before we get going into the demo, I want to explain a couple of base concepts first. So on the project management side, what you will see is a concept of orders and jobs. Typically, an order can be built out of one or multiple jobs. If I have a flag to produce, I might have one order that is linked to one job. But if I have a trade show booth to produce with 2 walls and 2 demo pods, then I will have multiple jobs as part of that, that same order. And therefore, I will also have multiple pieces of artwork that will each follow their own specific workflow, that might have their own finishing requirements, and that will each individually go through their own approval cycle. The other important concept is a concept of users, where typically we have companies or clients. So in tFLOW, you'll be able to create multiple clients. You'll be able to assign users to those specific companies, and you'll be able to define roles that in their turn will define the different privileges that the different users have. The third important concept are products. A product typically is comprised of 3 automation scripts. An automation script that will handle the pre-flight, another automation script that will handle the proof, meaning how will that production file be represented in a proof view, and how can that proof be generated automatically, and a finishing profile that will handle, as the name itself declares, the finishing requirements for a job, whether that is how a die cut needs to be handled, or whether that are grommets that you want to add, varnish, undercolor white. All these elements, they can be defined in that finishing profile. When we're talking about automation scripts, we actually get to the engine that is running underneath tFLOW. tFLOW uses Callus PDF Toolbox technology to do all the hardcore processing. So anything that is related to pre-flighting, fixing, color management, proof creation, preparation for print and finishing, those processing tasks, they're all handled by PDF Toolbox. PDF Toolbox is a proven PDF technology that is also the engine that Adobe uses as their pre-flighting engine in Acrobat. So PDF Toolbox is a really powerful technology that will enable you to do all the pre-flighting, all the PDF processing tasks that that you require as part of the tFLOW workflow. So let me get into the demo. When I log into tFLOW, this is the overview that I get. I get this dashboard that I can fully customize to my own needs, where I see where my jobs are, where my orders are, and which allows me to easily retrieve where I need to act. In this case, I see that I've got no jobs waiting for artwork, that no jobs on hold are on hold, meaning that no jobs have failed pre-flight, but that I have here a file, a job that is waiting for approval. At the same time, I see here a number of orders that are still in progress, a couple of them that are completed. And then I've made these different widgets, one for internal jobs and one for website jobs. Now, as I mentioned, I can create different clients in tFLOW, and what I've done here is I will later show you how to submit and how to link tFLOW to a storefront. what I've done here is I've created a separate client for my storefront. So this will enable me to see which are the jobs that are coming in from my website. And at the same time, here I've got all the jobs and their statuses for jobs that have been produced internally. All these widgets, they are interactive, so I can easily click on those and I can see the job that is in that status, which one that is awaiting approval in this case, for instance. But if I wanted to, I could add different widgets here, whether that is on a job level, on a disk space level, upload files, see a specific activity, my capacity, my user load, and my order. So I could customize that dashboard according to my requirements. Now, an important aspect of tFLOW is the communication that is happening automatically in tFLOW. So what I'll do is I'll get going and I'll create an order here. Now, when I create an order, obviously I have to assign to which client this order is related. I can then define an order name, a creation date, a ship date, a description. I could even input a rep name here, for instance, and I'll put my own name. I can keep the order name blank, and I've defined in my system preferences, my tFLOW system preferences, that if that order name remains blank, that automatically an order name will be created for it. So these are my base order settings. Then I can go a little bit further and I can here define which product that I want. I'm going to choose a feather flag here, and which production queue that I want to send this to. And I'll get back to the production queue just later on. Then I see what I talked about in the slides, the elements of my product. I see here my proof settings, I see here my pre-flight settings, and I see here my finishing settings. And I see that which automation script is related to that. Now, I will leave that untouched for the time being, and I will now save my order, and I will now have the ability to add a job in here. Now, when I add a job, automatically it takes over all the data that I've entered in my order, so I don't necessarily have to change anything on here. I just want to invite the customer to upload artwork for this feather flag, so I will create that job right there. Now, I'm not going to assume multiple roles in this demo. I just want to show you some of the basics in here. So what I have is, meanwhile, I have all the elements, all the communication on this job that I have received. So I received an email that an order has been created, that a job has been created, and that I'm invited to upload artwork. So typically as a user, I would click on that link and I would arrive here on the upload window where I can submit my file specifically for this feather flag. What I've done in this case, and I just wanted to show you, I've created a feather flag. Now I've created, in this case, a feather flag based on a template that my supplier has given me, where I have different elements on the template here with regards to where my fold line is, where the flag is going to be cut, what my safety zone is, and things like that. This has been created in such a way that this technical information is provided on separate layers. So I've put my artwork on a separate layer on top of the technical layers that were provided in the template, and I'm now going to upload my file. So I'll go and quickly have a look at my file. So that should be this one here. And simply drag and dropping that file is going to upload that artwork to tFLOW. You'll see here that I've got a proof and a production view. Now, the production view is generated nearly instantly. The proof view just takes a little while to produce. As you've seen, the technical information and the technical layers, they have been removed automatically from this file by the underlying PDF Toolbox technology. And what I keep is in the production view my simple feather flag, and in the proof view I get a proof template that is fully created automatically, where I have that additional information on my order, what my file name is, if I have any spot colors in there, and what have you. Now, what I have here on the right-hand side is a messaging window. So if I go back to my production view, what I could do here is make the background red, and I can choose whether I just want to email that message or whether I want to add annotations to my production file. In this case, I want to add this type of annotation, and I can obviously change that and change the position of that if I wanted to, and I can post that into my messaging window. So the messaging window really is a communication area where all the stakeholders in the workflow can add comments if they want to. I can, in this case, I would be able to ask for a new revision, and then the status of my job would change back to waiting for artwork. I could entirely cancel that job, or I can approve the job. And this is what I'm going to do in this case. I'm not going to go through an entire approval workflow. I'm just going to approve that file, say yes. And the status has changed to ready for production. Once again, you have to imagine that we're multiple users in this workflow. So down in production, again, the production operator gets a notification that the customer has approved the file and that the file is now ready to send to production. So the production operator will log into the system and can go to this job and send that off to production. Now, when I created the order and the job, I selected a production queue. I now get this production queue listed right here, and I can send that to production. Now, what that is going to do, it is actually going to get my file from the cloud down to my local production. tFLOW is a cloud-based system, as you've seen. And so it's great that I have a central place where all my customers can upload their job, can collaborate, can get together and work together on a job. However, at some point, I need to get that file down to production. Now, for that, there is an application that you see here, an application that comes with tFLOW called tBot. And as you see here, I've got a queue, coincidentally called production, that is going to connect to my tFLOW cloud, and that is going to check every minute if there's any files ready to download. Now, what I can do here is I can obviously download my file, but I can also immediately link that to downstream production tools. These could be imposition or ganging tools, but this could also be a RIP, whether it is Caldera, Onyx, or ErgoSoft, or even connect it directly to the input queue of a digital cutting table, such as a Zoom. So that's exactly what I'm going to do here. I'm going to send my file to production. And if all goes well, in just a little bit, I will see that file come in, and that file is now downloaded and can follow its trace further down in the production chain. That is the basic workflow of tFLOW. One of the things that I wanted to dig into a little bit more are the products and the automation scripts. So I have to work backwards and start with the automation scripts. If I'm going to look here at these different automation scripts, and you see that they're called proof finishing production, obviously to reflect the type of production script that we're talking about. These production scripts, they're actually the callous process plans that we know from within PDF Toolbox that we have uploaded here. The nice thing with the latest version of tFLOW is that you're able to fully take advantage of the variables that you'll define in the process plan for from PDF Toolbox. So once you've uploaded your process plan to tFLOW, you'll see here this edit variables window. In this case, bad example. It does not have variables. Let me quickly take a different one here, and hopefully this one up. There we go. I have a very simple one here where I define my job name. Let me see if I've got another one here. No. But basically it would allow me to edit the different variables, in this case the client name, the sales rep, that I have defined in my process plan, and I'll be able to use those later on in the product, and that is something that I'll show you in just a minute. Right. So the other thing that I can do, and so I wanted to show you some of the integration possibilities that we have. So here I've got a very basic storefront that I've got created with Aleyant Pressero. So the storefront solution that Aleyant offers. So I've got a very simple standard theme that I've chosen, and I've put on a couple of products there. I can go here to my banners, and I can choose the banner self-upload. I can here define the number of banners that I want, and I'm going to want 3 meters high and 10 meters wide. I'm going to choose my material, and I will want grommets, and it will come up with a price. You might think that this is expensive. This is entirely configurable. This is some imaginative pricing that I've put in here. I can now select my upload, and so I can choose the banner that I want. I can add this to my cart, and oh, I was actually too quick. Let me quickly go back. I saw here this note that I will receive a proof of the banner per email once it has been approved. So when I'm going to proceed to checkout, in this case, I can go ahead and place my order. I've placed my order now, and there's next to tBot another application that I wanted to show you that is somewhat similar, and you see already some action going on here. Basically, this is the automated workflow integrator for Pressero. that is going to allow me to connect my storefront to my tFLOW instance. So what is going to happen here is that in this case, I'm basically going to download all the files, all the jobs from a specific product, that is the banner self-upload, and I'm going to upload these to tFLOW, well, download these in this case to my tFLOW server, and I'm also going to generate a control file. That control file basically is going to give me the job information that will allow me to automatically generate the order and the job and send out a proof for approval to my customer. So let me go back and see if that is the case already. So my job has received artwork, and normally in a little while I should be able to click here and view that. Right, and so here is the banner that I just uploaded, where the proof page is generated fully automatically. So I've got everything that is on here. I can also go to my production view, and I see that tFLOW through the finishing script has added already the grommets on this banner. So nobody had to do anything on this. This is fully automatically. Now I can go here in my job into my product information, and so once again I will find back this proof view, this pre-flight view, and this finishing view. And so if I go to the finishing view, I see the way that the grommets are placed by default. Now, in this case, if for this specific banner, my operator decides that actually this would be better to have 3 grommets placed vertically rather than 2, I can still intervene on this job and I can still manage that. And so I can just change that value to 3, and it will process that file and update the file and the view, adding that 1 grommet in between the 2 grommets that were placed already. Once again, in this case, I can approve that file and pass that on and send that on to production. If I didn't have a queue defined to start with, I can do that right here and send that once again off to production. Now, one of the things that we kind of skipped because the files that I've uploaded were all problem-free files is the pre-flight report. So I get instant access to my pre-flight report right here within the job. Typically, as with pre-flight reports, I will get an overview of the warnings, the fixes, and the information. If I wanted to, I can download the report as a PDF file. So I see that annotated report right there. I've got some other functionality here. So in this case, I can download the production file, download the low-res file, the original, the proof, and the report. These things, what I'm able to do here is entirely configurable. So for that, I would go to the concept of companies, users, and roles. So here, once again, I will actually go bottom up and start looking at a user first. So when I create a new user, I can define which company this user belongs to, or which company this user belongs to. I can define the username, the password, and I can also define the default view that this customer is going to see. So when I log into tFLOW and when I want to view a job, am I going to by default see the production view, or am I going to see the proof view? I can assign a user to multiple companies. So for instance, if I've got a graphic designer, an external graphic designer that delivers work for multiple companies, I can obviously assign that graphic designer to the companies that they're working for. If I've got an internal user that needs to manage the different clients that we're working with, he can see all the different clients that we've got in there. Obviously, if I've got a client-specific user, they will only be able to see the jobs that have been assigned to that specific company. From a communication point of view, I can also define the messages that I'm getting. As you can see, meanwhile, I've been getting a lot of messages right here. So basically, I've defined my user to get all the messages on all the activity that is handling that is happening within tFLOW, but I can fully configure that. So I can say, okay, I don't want to get order alerts. I just want to get the job alerts, because those are the actual alerts that I will need to act on. And then I can, in those job alerts, define which ones that are relevant to me. Same with revisions. I can define that, whether jobs are created, whether jobs are canceled. What are the pre-flight alerts that I get on a job? What are the proofing alerts that I get on a job? And what are the production alerts that I can get on a job? If it's been sent to production, I'd like to know. Also, if any comments have been added, or if a job has been changed to the rush status. Now, I can receive those jobs in real time, or if I don't want to get spammed by the system, I could also say, well, give me a summary every hour. So instead of getting individual emails on each and every one of those different alerts, I could get a digest every hour, for instance. If I take it one step up, so a user will be assigned to a specific role, and obviously a role will be defined within a company. I will define which users are a member of that specific role, and then I will define which are the UI elements, which tasks this role can perform. So a graphic designer should typically be able to upload artwork, but if I've got, for instance, a marketing manager in there, they should not necessarily be able to upload the artwork. So I can fully customize any action that I've got within tFLOW, and give customers the right to access those elements, yes or no. Uploading artwork, approving jobs, sending jobs to production, uploading the proofs. More importantly, I think, apart from some of the administration rights that you have, such as administering comments or getting access to the system preferences, you're also able to download, to allow to download the PDF reports, the production file, the low-res file, and the original artwork. So typically, you could allow people to download the PDF reports, basically the pre-flight reports, and the low-res file, but we might not want to allow them to download the production file or the original artwork if that is something that we've put working. From a company point of view, you see here that I've got a tFLOW Enterprise logo, and you've also seen that on the communication here, I've got these logos there. What I can do here on a company level is I could change those logos, and I could either change those with my logo, but I could also personalize those with my client's logo. This is particularly handy if I have a B2B storefront that also is customized to the look and feel of my client. Well, in that case, I can also align the look and feel of tFLOW to that same B2B storefront with my customer's logo in there rather than my own logo. Here too, I have a couple of preferences defining whether the users of this client by default will get the production view or the proof view, and also what would be the production queue that we want to download the files to. Right. So this gives an initial overview of tFLOW and some of the integration capabilities that you have. I'd like to say and finish by saying that the integration that you've seen between Pressero, so the storefront, and tFLOW is an initial integration that has been done between the two products. Today, tFLOW has two main technologies to integrate with external systems. One is through an XML file, and this is actually the integration that has been used today between Pressero and tFLOW. The integration capabilities there are relatively limited in the sense that you can automatically create the job, assign the artwork to it, and define the product that is associated to that job. The second integration possibility that you have with tFLOW is through a well-documented RESTful API. Aleyant is currently working on the integration between Pressero and tFLOW through that RESTful API. And that will allow you to go much further in the integration, specifically when it comes to controlling the variables that we've seen in the automation scripts in the Callus pre-flight profiles. So today, through the integration, you cannot control the variables that we've seen in the automation script because that XML integration does not allow that. Shortly, and that should be in a couple of weeks from now, the integration between Pressero and tFLOW will be there through the API, and there you will be able to control those variables. That means that, for instance, you would be able to dynamically define the size in a pre-flight profile and check whether the file that has been uploaded really corresponds to the file size that I've defined. Just to give one example, I think I've given you the initial tour. I just want to finish by seeing if there's any questions. Also, if you would like to have a demo account on tFLOW, I'd be happy to supply one. Just send me a private email. You've got my email address right there, and then we'd be happy to set you up with a demo account on tFLOW. We can even set up a one-on-one webinar and respond to any specific questions that you might have. Remains me to thank you for your attendance. You can always go to our website, 4ps.com, go to the company and events section. We've got quite a busy webinar schedule coming up with specific webinars on PDF Toolbox. For those interested in using tFLOW, actually attending those webinars on a PDF Toolbox could be very interesting as well. So feel free to go online and register for those webinars as well. Thank you very much, and have a great day.